Scripts and dialogues. Apparently they're everything to being a great real estate agent, but the reality of it is that people can actually tell if it's a fake conversation. So if you want to be a much better real estate agent, don't focus on trying to learn particular scripts or particular dialogues. Focus on naturally being you. The thing that makes you truly great is when you're seriously confident in your own skin. And being seriously confident is about using your own words to be able to get to where you need to. However, the real challenge is that there are particular questions that you can be asking that can really shortcut the conversation. And this is what we go to call the critical path. What are the best quality questions that get you to where you need to go? So before I actually think about picking up the phone, what I think about is that what is the customer going to be hearing when they get onto the other end of that conversation? And ultimately, the customer is going to ask these key questions. Who's calling? Why are you calling? And what does it have to do with me? So what's really critical here is that when you start the conversation is that you actually answer those three things. Who's calling? Why are you calling? And what does it have to do with them? And your delivery of that in that first 15 seconds can often make the difference between a successful call and not. Now, the challenge for a lot of people is that they get caught up in doing things that they shouldn't, asking people how they are, trying to qualify what they're trying to do inside of the conversation. But what you should really be doing is getting very, very clear about the outcomes. Hi Hannah, it's Josh Fegan. The reason for my call is that you came through one of our opens and I just thought I'd check in to see if that particular property at Smith Street held any interest. You've been very clear about all of those key things and now you can start that conversation. What's also critical here is to know that the last 10% is where all the money is made. Most real estate agents do the first 90% of the call. They do all of that introduction, they have the conversation, but then they actually don't move to commitment. Now that commitment might be getting them to a buyer appointment, might be booking a market appraisal, it might even just be having the ability to be able to call them back on a certain date and time when you can have a better quality conversation. So never leave the call without actually getting that commitment. And this is the real challenge. A lot of people are just doing calls and they're doing volumes of calls, but what they're not thinking about is that what is the next steps for the customer. Now for me, I never ever leave a meeting or a phone conversation without being clear about what my next steps might be. Now it could be as simply, okay great, well thanks so much for the call, if ever I can help please let me know. That way I'm ending the call and letting them know that it's up to them to now communicate back with me. Or I might say, okay great, thanks so much for that. Probably the best thing for us to do from here is that I'll give you a call maybe early next week, check in and see how you went at the auction on the weekend and see if we might be able to assist in the future. What you're actually doing here is you're getting very clear about what that follow through is going to be. What's critical is that you then go and put that inside of your diary so you've got that follow through item to actually go and do. Now what I would say is that if you're going to be a great agent, don't get too script and dialogue. You get very focused on what you're doing for the customer. And in doing that, ask better questions to lead them to the outcome. And really keep that primary goal the primary goal, and that is booking the appointments. What I can guarantee you is that regardless of the market conditions of the day, the best agents in the country are aiming to get to 3 appointments a day. That ultimately leads to 15 appointments in a week, which then leads to 60 appointments in a month. And if you do that, you will get yourself the result. So don't worry too much about trying to learn the dialogues. Learn how to be you, but make sure that you are very precise in the language that you use. The final tip here is to record yourself and play it back. And remember the golden rule, if you wouldn't buy from you, then don't expect a customer to buy from you. I really hope you've enjoyed this week's coaching tip and we look forward to seeing you next time.